You're listening to the Vacation Rental Key with T&T, the podcast for vacation rental managers by vacation rental managers. I'm Tim Cafferty, and I manage two companies, one in Virginia and one in North Carolina. And I'm one of the two T's.
And I'm the other T, Tiffany Edwards, born and raised in the vacation rental business. I help manage our family businesses from Key West all the way to Kauai.
In the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you our keys to success in the vacation rental business. Welcome back to the Vacation Rental Key. I'm one of your hosts, Tim. The other one's right there.
And I'm the other T. Too excited, just jumping in.
It's all good. Today, we're diving into the lighter side of hospitality for episode 36. We love our guests, but let's be honest. Sometimes the requests and stories we get are downright hilarious, bizarre, or leave you scratching your head. Today, we're sharing some of our absolute favorite funny guest encounters, and more importantly, how we handled them with a straight face and deliver top-tier service. So let's unlock the fun on the Vacation Rental Key today, Tiff.
This is Therapy 101. So depending on when you're listening to this, so this episode is coming out today, now end of July, sort of seeing the future, the light at the end of the tunnel for season for some of those beach or coastal communities, but even some of the mountains, everyone's a little busy during the 4th. And Tim, I started thinking about this because guests tend to maybe behave differently or kind of check their brain a little bit when they enter in, but today is meant to be a support group and for people to be able to check out and laugh. And if you take anything away, just know that we're all in it together and maybe some creative ways that you address some of these issues.
We don't have any organization to this. I asked some of my key personnel. I went back into the coffers of stories I remember. So many times we just forget this stuff. And so this is cathartic to remember it. So I'm going to start off with one that happened last night, Tiffany. Our manager on call got a call at 2 a.m. Guest absolutely terrified. They swear the house is haunted because they keep hearing a rhythmic thumping sound coming from the kitchen, followed by a low sighing noise. They're convinced a spirit is in the house. So a guy drives to the property, walks into the kitchen with the shaking guests, stands there waiting for the ghost. I don't know if he had a net or flashlight, what it was, but right on cue, a loud clump, clump, clump echoes through the room, followed by the hiss of the refrigerator line as the ice maker was refilling. So, beautiful house, but the kitchen poltergeist made it hard to sleep. So we'll probably only get 4 stars on that review.
What a 5-star team member to go out there. And you hear those kind of noises, I immediately think, is there a water heater issue? Is there something other appliance going out? So glad to hear that it was just the ice maker machine. But what a 5-star individual. Our most recent one that I wanted to add for today actually was a late night call as well. And this one is in an area where we are a dominant property manager for an enclosed community. So there's hundreds of homes there, really meant for vacation rentals, and we are the dominant property manager on site. And late in the night, one of the owners that lives on that property, not one of our owners, called our after hours because a car alarm was going off and they suspected it had to be one of our guests, but they couldn't tell us where the car alarm was going off. And just that it was annoying. And it only had been a few minutes. And as we all know, car alarms usually go off, but or go off at a certain time and then, are limited and ultimately turn off. But they demanded that our property manager go out and assess the car alarms and to navigate maybe which one, because they felt certain it had to be one of our properties.
So how did it end?
So the property manager actually went out because she was very concerned about that owner in general. I like to give a lot of our team members some discretion for some of those issues, but I think that when there's another owner on site and we're the dominant property manager, we always want to tie in good relationships. So luckily that team member went over, We received five-star service from them. It was not one of our guests, it was another owner on property. That teenager was trying to get into their car late at night. So it really didn't relate. But yeah, that was our most recent late night phone call.
Okay. All right. So I've got another one here. This one comes from my Sandbridge general manager. The wife swore there were mice in the house and wanted the exterminator out immediately. Pest control went out, found no evidence of mice. She explained the issue was the fruit had nibbles on it. The husband finally confessed he'd been trying to remove the stickers. It was his fingernails that had cut into the fruit.
That's so good, but that also sounds like something I would do. The other part too, though, every time I hear mice, I like to call it beach mice. I like to call it the endangered beach mice that we have, specific species that we have, just like palmetto bugs as opposed to cockroaches. That is an absolutely wonderful one. We did get a call earlier this summer here in Florida, as you can imagine, from one of our guests calling from the beach. And they were very upset because the beach left them a lot sandier than they expected. And they needed directions to how and where to hose off and what were the necessary steps to get all the sand off of them. So,
Okay. Add
so
that to your guest guide.
we're guess luckily, our receptionist thinks quick on her feet and so had offered that if they had a towel on site, maybe shaking that towel off would be helpful, but she didn't have the exact locations of every water spigot, but that she would there was one at least in the home, if not at the entryway usually for any of the public access.
I immediately go now to looking at reviews. And so I had one recently on an oceanfront property. You probably already know where I'm going with this. You guys slow down out there. Come on now. Let me tell my story. They gave us great feedback on the property, wonderful decor, super views. The ocean was too loud. 3 stars.
Oh my gosh, that's okay.
Oh
My
boy.
my cheeks hurt because I
Yeah.
have one that just made me jog my memory of another one. I personally took this call. This was years and years ago. Now we're hearing all of the noise ordinances and the noise monitoring inside the homes. And this was prior to kind of the proliferation of that. And we received a call from an owner. This isn't a guest, I shouldn't say this, but the owner called us because the guests were playing Marco Polo too loud with the children at 3 PM, and they felt like the decibel was too high based on the kid count. So now, granted, they were the kids were young and screaming and very excited, all under the age of 12, which, you know how that loud that can get. But, yeah, we had to have someone take care of that with the owner.
Of course. That's what we're here for. Just call us for anything. So this didn't happen directly to me. It was for a friendly competitor. Not going to call him out because he provided this in good faith. Went to a property on turnover day. There was no furniture in the living room. They look around. What the heck's going on? They look out on the beach. They had moved the living room furniture to the beach for a photo shoot and left it there.
Okay, so how do you handle that? Please tell me.
Well,
Tell
they
me
called an
every step.
outside vendor to move the furniture back in the house. I don't know how he handled that with the guest. Well, I didn't give it away by saying he did, but at any rate, there's a lot of he's out there. But I just like, really? That happened? Yeah. I think we all say that when it happens, right? Really?
Oh my
They
gosh.
did what?
Well, I mean, this is for anyone out there who's experienced whenever you go in to expect a property and you have all of these random dishes from who knows where that are piled up in there. The furniture is a whole nother extent. And I would love to hear more about, do you charge the owner? How long has the furniture been out there? How do you even broach that with the guests?
Okay, I've got another one while I'm coming in hot here, and I've got a picture for this one. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this picture is proof for another funny guest story here. We got a call about some antennas that had been put up in the front of the house. So we called to ask the guest, and they're a 3-weeker that stays every year. So we called to ask about the antennas and wire from the house to a tree where they had set up this whole thing. And he very straight facedly said, "Yes, the antennas are here to listen to extraterrestrial activity. I do it every year."
And how long have they been staying there?
At
I know every year, but I mean,
least the last 3 years for 3 weeks. I don't know, maybe a mission from God. Who knows?
oh my goodness. Yeah, I haven't had that. I don't know. I'm sure we have lots of conspiracy theorists who stay with us in general, but luckily they haven't knocked on our doors. I do have some good from back in the day snowbird stories
Hey, please tell.
where yes, so that one not hitting into our July timeframe, but we've gone through for so many years because snowbirds really kept us afloat, right? So we would make all of these accommodations and the line would just continue to move over and over each year of what we'd be willing to do. So you talk about the furniture aspect. We would have some that would ask for us to completely remove the furniture so that they could bring some of their own items in.
Oh.
And unfortunately, back in the day, we did accommodate some of that, and
Oh.
now I look back and I think, "What were we doing?" But they wanted to make it theirs, and then they truly believed that it was theirs until the cable or whatnot would be an issue, but I don't know why we would do that back then, but we did it.
So I have a unique non-family group story that wreaked havoc. So it was a group of men, the youngest of which was 65, the oldest was 80. They were a non-family group. The wives called them in to report them to us because they didn't like the smell that was being made as they rented the property. And actually, I think a pool vendor may have called as well and saying, "They have stuff hanging from every light fixture in the property." And so our property manager goes there and found out the men do this every year. They come to the beach and make sausage, and they had sausages hanging from every light fixture in the house.
Okay, I need to marinate on that for a minute, and again, so many questions, that I think of, this must have been the wife's first time attending this sausage festival and party,
Yes, evidently. Uh,
evidently, and I'm guaranteeing that they didn't come back, and so I have to ask you, Tim, so we like to go around a lot of times and share some of these war stories, but do you ever log them anywhere? Because for camaraderie, I grew up back on an old system called First Resort Software. And so no mouse during that time, not to be confused with beach mice, right? So no actual computer mice or mouse. It was F1, F2, and we had these things called OBIs. And so OBIs was like an extra secret area where you could keep notes about the guests. And we would identify that there was an OBI by saying OBI, and then we'd have a hashtag next to their name. And so I just thought some of these stories were so hysterical, and to build camaraderie and make sure we didn't forget them, I would go in and make sure I recorded all of these things. Now, OBIs weren't necessarily meant for that. They were meant for very specific issues,
right.
but we ended up turning them so internal because, some of these sausage party stories are what gets you through.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm getting it out of my system now, but yeah, there's several books that have probably been lost in space over time. All right, so I've got a wildlife relocation request. People were vacationing, of course, here on the Outer Banks. You have the beach nearby, you have the woods nearby, Outer Banks. You encounter nature. Some guests, however, expect nature to respect their vacation boundaries, right? So a guest called frantically reporting a massive security breach at their property. There is an animal on the deck. And so we load for bear and we send our best tech out there. He's ready to see a raccoon or whatever it may be. And he gets there to find a seagull sitting on the railing. And the guest asked in complete seriousness, "Can you send someone out to relocate this bird? And while they're at it, can you turn down the volume on the crickets outside? It's really ruining our happy hour."
Crickets, maybe, I guess because they weren't close enough to the ocean to hear how loud the ocean was, they, had to
Yeah.
complain about the crickets, so they need to relocate.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
There's so many of those common ones where, to me, seagulls, it's preparation of communication of, "Please don't feed them. What goes
Right.
up must come down."
Oh, boy.
A lot of that communication, especially for the beach and anything that we provide for beach chairs. Not to exclude some of our mountain listeners who don't have to deal with these very large pigeons. But that becomes an issue. Directions in general, constant issue. People forget what east and west and left and right are. So there's so many furniture also you knew you had mentioned, but one of my absolute favorites, I actually took this call when I was 16, and is one what changed my life of having to go behind the scenes from operations instead of being face to face with guests. So back in the day, I would check people in, and of course, our Saturday to Saturday weekly turn, and everyone has to physically come into the office. And we'd have so much communication saying check-in is not until 4, check-in is not until 4, but they would show up driving all night because they were so excited at 9 a.m. And then they would come out with a clown car full of people. And at one point we had given, it was late summer value season, we had given as many discounts as possible. And I sometimes wear a little chip on my shoulder during that time frame because people try to squeeze out as much as possible. And I'm just seeing the exhaustion from everyone else and what all we've done and the high level of service. And so I'm not huge fan when people are trying to squeeze more money out from you. But clearly they were over occupancy. I mean, they were over occupancy in the car, not safe in their seatbelts, right? And so they come in 9 a.m., check-in times at 4. They're upset. Anyways, we finally get them in, make sure we get them in early. They get in, they call back, and they are very upset because the coffee table is square and they have concerns for their children who are walking around in the living room because it's square. And they would either like for me to remove the furniture or they'd like a discount for their property. And unfortunately, my mother walked by us right as I was taking that phone call, and I did not answer that call very well. And she immediately moved me off of the phones. But my response was, I'd be happy to take all of the furniture out and keep the mattresses for you. And that was when I got pulled from the front desk.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, guests will push you. I I have one that everybody has, I guess, but again, it just struck me at how guests ask for exceptions, early check-in, whatever the case might be. We had a guest ask if there was an exception to the 2-dog limit on the houses that accept pets. What did you have in mind? Well, I want to bring my 7 dogs. Whoop.
So, is there a limitation on emotional? They can't all be emotional support
No.
animals, right?
I don't know. We didn't ask that, and she didn't bring it up, so we I think that was a hard no. Oh, we also had a guest report a chime going off in the owner's closet. It was disturbing everyone in the house. Then when we sent a technician out there, we discovered it was the kids at the front door ringing the doorbell like 50 times. It would be disconcerting,
We should probably have polled this a little bit to see how much alcohol is involved with some of these
right?
individuals, but the late night calls and the ghosts and the haunting, you have to believe you're sober at that at that point.
Well, I've got one that has to be in this category. So we get a tech support call. They're common, but I think this one takes a cake. Guest called complaining a living room TV has terrible reception. The screen's completely black, and they can only hear a muffled buzzing sound. Sorry, I know the punchline. So the maintenance tech walks in to troubleshoot. He looks at the entertainment center. The TV isn't there. He looks around the room. The punchline is he finally finds the 55-inch smart TV completely submerged in the hot tub out on the deck. And the guest explanation, well, we wanted to watch the game while we soaked, but the remote wouldn't work through the window. So we brought the TV closer and it slipped.
And just to be clear, this was not the guys that are hanging sausage, right? This
Oh,
was
a
a
different,
totally
different group.
separate group.
Different group. Yeah. Okay. What else you
You know,
got?
TVs in general, the best thing we ever did as it relates to guests, they started out as hilarious stories, but then just became constant issues. We leave all of our TVs on with some type of background picture so that the guests immediately that they know because no one knows how to work it. But at least they have it on to some extent when we have the directions right next to it. And that has saved so many calls. And then the other side too, and this isn't completely hilarious, but with refrigerators, I don't think I've mentioned this before on one of our episodes, but one of the greatest things we've ever done, everyone jams their fridges full of whatever they've got. And let me tell you, those are some hilarious visits when they call and they say, "Oh, my fridge doesn't work." And we used to go back in the day and go actually look at it and to see what they have stocked in that fridge. Some of the times it's a lot of liquid and not so many
Yeah.
not so many perishables, but we put a sign out that says, "This has been expertly cleaned and may take several hours based on our high level service of graded cleaning supplies and care and inspection. It may take some time to cool down." So, I don't know if anyone out there does that or still has issues. No matter how much you communicate with guests, it's gonna take a minute for the fridge to cool off. Putting that in there also has made the guests feel like, "Oh, this place has gotta be so clean." Yeah.
Good. Okay. This doesn't fit in a category, but the nicest house we have. I won't say where it is, but it's a really nice property. And so our property manager goes into the living room one day and she finds 10 rubber chickens stuck to the ceiling. There is no explanation.
There
But the guest said, "Oh, we didn't realize they were going to stick." After how many? After 7 got stuck? After 10? So we took an extension pole with a fork taped to it to get them off the ceiling.
Yeah, rubber chickens, that's we've had a lot of stickers in the past and then had
Oh,
to
yeah.
call guests because of damage with all the stickers because they just let their kids throw it all up there and need to give them something to do, but rubber chickens, we have not. That we have not seen.
See it all, don't we, folks? Okay. I just have 2 more that I overheard, or I don't know, maybe they were texted in, but I have to share this one because it's stuck. And this is an oldie but a goodie. The message came in, "I request your permission to remove my drawers in the kitchen." What drawers are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'm a I'm a little confused as to
What's
AI, can we clarify?
Yeah. And my all-time favorite before we wrap this up is, I need a house for 4 adults and 16 responsible teenagers.
Oh, my
They're on
absolute favorite, favorite. But also because I was never allowed on those evictions. Again, that does not happen now in this day and age. But man, I used to love going back through.
Mm,
My
yeah.
dad's an attorney. That's what we would always get as a response.
Well, and they all were honor students.
or or from a Christian
Going
camp.
they're going to very prestigious colleges.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're not there yet.
This is their last hurrah.
Yeah, exactly. Alright. Anything
I
else from you?
I think that's a really good one to end it on. I hope that anyone who's listening to this has gotten this for a chuckle and saves it. Again, it's like why we go to conferences. There's one or two little keys that we get that help our business, and then the rest of it is a support system and support group. And I would absolutely love to come back and do this episode again, but I want to hear from everyone else. So please let us know some of your absolute hilarious, crazy stories so that we can share and commiserate with you and not feel alone.
Yep. You can shoot us an email. You can drop it in the comments on this app that you're watching or listening to. We'd love to hear from you. So that's a wrap on this episode. You can't make this stuff up, can you? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We're going to shift gears from the funny to the financial. We'll be breaking down exactly how to advise your property owners on where to spend their money to maximize ROI and attract more guests. So until then, so long, everybody.
Hey, everyone, hang in there.